Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast for all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time. I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss dating, relationships. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. And as always, we are here broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where the broadcast today is brought to you by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know the Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. Starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. Now, I know that for those of you that have tuned in with us, we are having some technical difficulty right now, so bear with me as we go into the broadcast. But I have to say that this is something that I have not seen before. So as always, there's always a lot of moving parts when you are broadcasting live, so I can see that you're with us, but there is some technical difficulty right at the moment. So we'll get that resolved at a later time. But in the interim, I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have been in and out of relationships for quite some time. You said, however, none of them have lasted. And we don't have audio today. Technical difficulty right now, so bear with me. And we do have audio now. So you indicated that you've been in and out of relationships. None of them have lasted. You want to know, how do you navigate a relationship that is lasting? So let me begin by saying this to you. First of all, let me say Happy New Year to you and to all of our listeners and viewers. I realize that this is the first broadcast of the new year, so I'm going to begin by saying this, and I've said this over the years. Whenever you find yourself having difficulties with relationships, there's one common denominator. Now, you said that none of them have lasted, but you want to be in a relationship by the end of this year. There's nothing wrong with having a target. But you also have to realize that in relationships, there's one common denominator. So if none of your relationships have lasted, you are the common denominator. Whether it is that you are selecting the wrong person to be in a relationship with, or whether you are the problem in a relationship, at the end of the day, one thing you have to know is that you are the common denominator. Okay, so we start there, and we begin with, and this will take me into another communication, but we begin with the fact that you have to prepare yourself to be in a relationship. So instead of saying that you want, and it's okay to have a target, but you don't want to be desperate. So you've got to eliminate that factor. You don't want to function in desperation. Having said that, you've got to prepare yourself to be in a relationship. And preparing yourself to be in a relationship implies that you're not preparing yourself to be someone's girlfriend, you're preparing yourself to be someone's wife. That's how the relationship will last. Now, you don't want to be desperate, so even though you set a target that you'd like to be in a relationship by the end of the year, don't be desperate and just get into a relationship with someone so that you can fulfill that goal. Prepare yourself and allow it to happen, if it's going to happen this year, to allow it to happen naturally. But you've got to make some changes. We all have to be at a place in our lives where we are seeking to make change and to grow and develop and become a better version of ourselves. So what I would say to you is, first things first. Instead of focusing on, I want to be in a relationship, focus on, I am going to improve myself to prepare myself to be in a relationship. That's the place to start. And if you start there, you'll find that you will begin to make the changes in your life that are necessary to allow you to get to that place that you desire to be, which is to be in a relationship. So, you've got to recognize that because you are the common denominator, are you choosing to be in a relationship with the wrong person? Are you choosing to be in a relationship with someone who is not conducive for enhancing your quality of life? So these are all factors you have to take into consideration. So when I say that, what I'm saying to you is that the changes you're going to begin making this year are going to be changes that will allow you to prepare yourself to be a wife and not a girlfriend. So let's focus on that. Now, one of our other listeners and viewers, and I'll get there in a moment, but I am going to say this because it's important. One of our other listeners and viewers said that, relationships are difficult. Relationships are difficult if you're in the wrong relationship. And I'll get to that in a moment. But relationships are difficult if you're in the wrong relationship. And one of the things that I have often said is that we get in relationships for the wrong reason. We choose someone that we want to be in a relationship, opposed to being in a relationship that God wants us to be in a relationship with someone. So we've got to be mindful of that. And then we have to realize that, yes, there are a lot of moving parts to relationships. So what I will say to you is, work on you first, and then you'll be able to work on a relationship. Work on you first and prepare yourself to be in a relationship. Your relationships are not lasting for a reason. Whether it's that you're choosing the wrong person or you are conducting yourself in a way that is not beneficial for having a relationship. And the reason I want to break this down is because it's important we understand that God has a plan for our lives. And God knows exactly what he wants to do. But then the problem is we sometimes don't want to do it. We want to do what we want to do, and that is not always, it's not conducive for success. Sure, we might have some blessings along the way, but if it's not God's way, it's never going to be the best way. And if it's not God's relationship, it's not going to be the best relationship. So in other words, you got to have a relationship with God first that allows you to have a relationship with someone else. A lasting relationship, a sustainable relationship. That's all part of it. But we spend a lot of time trying to develop relationships the way we want them to appear, the way we want them to become, or what we want them to become, when God is saying, no, I've got something much better planned for you. But you've got to want to follow his plan. And so, I'm going to encourage you today by saying this. First things first, and first things are the most important, which are, I'm going to work on myself this year. I'm going to spend time preparing myself to be what I desire to experience in my life. That's got to be the focal point. Now, having said that, let's spend this year focusing on how you're going to enhance your professional and your personal life and maximize the experience of the life that God has set aside for you. So by saying that, I say to you, next steps are going to be real important. What are you going to do to prepare yourself for a relationship? Not what are you going to do to have a good time this weekend, not what you're going to do to have a good time through the week. What are you going to do to prepare yourself for a relationship? That's where you desire to be, but it's one thing to desire it and another thing to act upon it, to execute. So, let's examine the common denominator. Let's make the necessary changes. Don't be desperate. Trust that God has assigned someone for your life, and you will experience the relationship that God has assigned for you. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm also going to announce to all of our listeners and viewers, we've got a lot going on at New Life Christian Center and at our public charity, New Life Food Source Pantry. We are currently accepting vehicle donations. Cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, whatever you have that has a motor in it. We will accept them through Cars Helping Charities .org /new life food source pantry Inc. So I'll make certain that you'll see the link posted on Facebook. I'll make certain that I continue to remind everyone, if you have a vehicle to donate, you can reach out to us on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will provide you with the information so that you can contact Cars Helping Charities and receive a tax-deductible contribution for next year, because we're in the new year. So reach out to us. T-Mobile caller text line 267-992-1424. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have a friend who betrayed you, and it is now more difficult, you said, to be friends with anyone who has not been your friend, been in your life for a long period of time. Okay. So let me begin by addressing this and saying, because someone betrayed you, you need to know that God is removing them from your life. The problem is sometimes, and this is for all of our listeners and viewers, sometimes we want to hold on to people because it makes us feel comfortable having people who say they have the same agenda and the same intent that you have to serve God, to serve our fellow man. It's people have their own agendas, and sometimes they will tell you that their agenda lines up with your agenda, but then they'll only seek what is important to them. So you've got to understand that just because someone betrayed you doesn't mean that they belonged in your life. You considered them a friend. First of all, if they betrayed you, they were never your friend. They were just someone who was in your life for a reason. And usually when people are in your life for a reason, it's for two purposes. One is either their own agenda, or the second is that God brought them for a specific purpose for that reason. So they come for a reason. And then you know the old adage, there are some people who come for a season. They're in your life for a purpose. See, people who come in for a reason are generally there for their own agenda. And they're there, God allows them to come to develop us so that we realize that he's going to bring some people and he's going to remove some people. But you've got to be okay with that. The seasonal people are there for a purpose. They're there because for a season, God wants them in your life to serve whatever purpose he's placed in them. But then you have people who are there for a lifetime. They're not going anywhere. They're there for the purpose that God has placed in your life. They are there because it is part of their service to God to have an impact on you, to participate in what God has called you to do. So they're there for a lifetime. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's real friends, and sometimes it is people who will be in your lifetime, will be in your life for a lifetime that were sent purely by God. There's nothing you could have done that would have brought them into your life, but God placed them there. And they will remain present in your life. I often refer back to someone who was a lunch buddy of mine, a gentleman who I met. He was 81 years of age. He was 97 when he went home to be with the Lord. Loved God. We would go to lunch once a month. And for all those years. And even though he was a Christian, I'm a Christian, and even though I'm a pastor of a church, he was a servant leader in his church, and even though we weren't together all the time, we were once a month always together. And he was in my life from the time I met him until the end of his life. That can be a lifetime. It doesn't necessarily mean someone who's been, and we get real comfortable with folks who have been with us since we were children. But if they're not growing, they're not going. In other words, if they're not growing and developing to be with you each level that you live, they can't go where you're going. And the truth of the matter is, he was someone who was a consistent, constant supporter of what we do. And the reason is because he believed in what we do. He believed in our efforts to serve God. So he was there for the lifetime. And you may say, well, Pastor, it was only 16 years. Well, yes, but it was our lifetime together. So reason, season, and a lifetime. And lifetime people will be with you. Doesn't matter where you meet them on the journey, they will be with you until the journey ends for one of us. Whether the Lord calls them home or calls you home. But they'll be there till the end. Till the end of life. And you've got to be okay with that. Because anyone who is in your life today is there because God hasn't removed them. And anyone that's going to be in your life tomorrow, God willing that we should live, it's because God hasn't removed them. Anyone who's gone, God has removed them. Whether it's so that they wouldn't become a distraction from your calling, or whether it was because God said, I don't need them to be any more to you in your life than what they have already been. The seasons come to an end. And we've all got to be okay with all of that. Because at the end of the day, it isn't about what we want or how we want it. At the end of the day, it's really always about what God wants and what God is doing. Because he's going to do it well. Whatever he does, it is good. And we've got to recognize that. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, you should visit their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. And if you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. And The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at their retail store. They have everything you could possibly need. Home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you want to make the best of you want to make this year the best year of your life. However, you feel stuck on how to accomplish that. Let me briefly say, because there's a few things I want to take care of today as we embark on this new year. The question you have to ask yourself is, what is the plan? If you want to make this the best year, what is the plan to make it the best year? Have you decided what you want to accomplish and the steps necessary to accomplish that? So it's nice. People often say things. It's nice to say you want it to be the best year. And I'm a firm believer that every year is going to be better than the year before. I'm a firm believer of that. But here's the question you got to ask yourself. What is the plan? What's the plan to make it the best year ever? What is the plan to make it the best year of your life? And have you decided what you want to accomplish? What steps do you need to take to get there? All of that's going to be important in your planning process. So, write the vision, make it plain. Many of you have heard me say that over the years. We've been live on the air with 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, since 2017. Every one of you that have been with us since the beginning. And you know what's amazing? I thank God for those of you that have been, because I've heard from many of you. You have been with us since we started. The blessing is, if you were with us since the very beginning, you have a 7-year plan. You've worked your 7-year plan. You've now seen the results of your 7-year plan. Now you need to make certain that you're working your 14-year plan, because we're starting a new era, the next 7 years. For us, as a church, as a ministry, even with the broadcast is a few years old, but our church, New Life Christian Center, will be 21 years old in March of this year. As a matter of fact, we invite everyone to come and worship with us. Our church anniversary will be March the 29th of 2026, and we will be 21 years old. We had a 7-year plan, 14-year plan, 21-year plan. We then continued to build a 28-year plan, 35-year plan, God willing. Every 7 years, 42-year plan, 49-year plan. That's planning. It's writing the vision, making it plain. But you have to decide what you want to accomplish, and you've got to be okay with whatever God does to modify the plan. Whatever revisions God chooses to make. But you've got to have steps. There's steps to this. You've got to take the necessary steps to accomplish what you desire to accomplish. And for us, it was the very simple step was to make certain that we shared the gospel and to be able to do that to all nations. Okay. But in addition to that, we wanted to be able to serve the community and enhance the quality of life for others. So all of that is important. But you have to have a plan. You have to, and if you want to make this year the best year of your life, you've got to have a plan. So I will encourage you, if you have not already written out the plan, get it done now. Decide what you want to accomplish and take the necessary steps to accomplish the vision of your plan. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Remember, come and worship with us. Come and